celebrating the incredible people who will lead these historic reforms.
Oh, no.
And we start with somebody that you just saw, Pam Bondi. She's extraordinary, and I've known her very well for a long time. I watched her for a long time in Florida, for years in Florida. Highly experienced. She seems so young, but she's highly experienced, that I can tell you. She was a phenomenal attorney general in Florida, and she's going to do a really amazing job. Also, our new director of the FBI, Kash Patel. Kash.
Oh, boy. Yep. Release the Epstein list? Yeah. Where's the
A
list?
man that I'm very proud of. I've known him and Emil for a long time under tremendous pressure. I saw these guys under some of the most corrupt judges. It's not even imaginable how corrupt they were.
Man.
And these guys never wilted. They were not shy. They fought. They weren't afraid, and they were brilliant. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Principal Associate Deputy Attorney Emil Beauvais. And thank you both very They're great people. They're great people. The Chief of Staff, who's so highly respected, Chad Mizell. Thank you, Chad.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Chad. Our next
Which hero do you
administrator
think you wanna
of
be
the
today?
DEA, Terry Cole. Terry? Thank you, Cole.
They probably burned and
luck.
shredded the good
Gonna
stuff.
be great.
We'll figure out who burned and
Senior
shredded it.
counsel to the
it
Assistant
out.
Attorney General for Civil Rights. Boy, I've been watching him on television.
Yeah, it's easy.
Last
Figure it
couple
out.
of weeks. He is really a tough one, and he's a great one. Leo Terrell, you watch how good he's going to be. He's going to be so
So it's just a
good.
big circle jerk?
Thank you, Leo.
Yeah.
Great guy. Assistant Attorney General of the Antitrust Division, who's got an incredible reputation. She'll do very, very well. Gail Slater. Thank you, Gail. Good luck. Great job. Now, we're joined by many, many great friends and terrific friends, and I won't be able to, too many to name, but some that I just see very quickly. General Flynn, thank you for being here.
General, oh
He's a
boy.
man who went through hell, by the way, and he shouldn't have.
Yeah, I remember
He's
him.
a patriot. He went through hell.
I thought he was
We'll
going to go to
also
jail.
pleased be joined by Senator
The right
Chuck
heroes could make
Grassley,
all the
House
difference.
Majority
Yeah.
Whip. Where's that? Hi, Chuck. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer.
Someone turn on the teleprompter?
Great job you're doing.
No, it's okay. He's just naming out names.
Representative Guy Reschenthaler, one of the toughest names to say, but I got it perfectly, I think. And State Attorney General Ken Paxton, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I will bring peace to
Somebody who was with us
We got a lot of names out here.
early on, and she's really become a big star and very popular, Brenna Bird. Thank you, Brenna. Thank you very much. Steve Marshall, Alan
Remember when I got short
Wilson,
end of stick? Yes, he did.
Arthur Meyer,
Remember when he did that?
Chris Carr, Dave Sunday,
Remember when he did that
Marty
rally for Trump at a
Jackley,
like a
as
gas
well as White
station?
House Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller. What a man Stephen is. Become a big star.
You remember
Right,
that?
Emil? Steve Miller. Steve has been something very
That
special.
was so funny.
For generations, the
battle
Federal
starts in
Department of
5,
Justice was one of
4,
America's most
3,
revered
2,
institutions. The men and
1.
women of the DOJ
You have to stop
brought
him
down
from
the
steering the
mafia,
mission
hunted
area.
down the killers, kingpins, and spies, tracked down terrorists and traitors, and tore down corrupt political machines all across America. This department commanded the respect and admiration of the entire world. And with Pam and Cash and all of the people I introduced and far more, big numbers, and all of you sitting back there, as I recognize so many of you.
That was such a good
But with
day.
you leading the way, it'll soon be the most admired and most respected of all. You're going to be more respected, and I really believe that there's also a lot of things to solve, a lot of problems to solve. But that's going to put you in the upper tier and maybe the top tier, and I believe that's going to happen. I'm so proud of the people in this room. But first, we must be honest about the lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls.
Uh-oh.
Unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of
Nope.
the American government obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations. They weaponized the vast powers.
I think this
of
is true.
intelligence
I think they
and
did make Trump a martyr by going after him that hard.
thwart the will of the American people. You remember the 51 intelligence agents that said, as an example, that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell came from Russia when they knew it came right from his bedroom. They knew that. It was a big lie, and they knew it so well. They spied on my campaign, launched one hoax and disinformation operation after another, broke the law on a colossal scale, persecuted my family, staff, and supporters,
Family?
raided my home, Mar-a-Lago,
Well,
and did everything within their power to prevent me from becoming the president of the United States.
it's crazy if this guy didn't become president, he'd probably be in jail. Isn't that nuts?
This is real firepower!
And these are people that nobody's ever seen anything like it.
I made fun of her, but
There's so many others, but these are people
Yeah.
that are bad people.
Like you either become president or you go to jail.
They tried to turn America into a corrupt, communist, and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Freedom won, justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won. There could be no more heinous betrayal of American values than to use the law to terrorize the innocent and reward the wicked. That's what they were doing at a level that's never been seen before.
Now he's reading the
And
speech.
it's exactly what you saw with Joe Biden,
Now he's not
Merrick
reading the
Garland,
speech.
and their cronies
Go
to
ahead.
do the building the last 4 years. What they've ripped down is
It's much better.
Yeah, this is.
incalculable. But what you're going to build up is likewise something that will be breaking all sorts of records. They set loose violent criminals while targeting patriotic parents at school board meetings. They drop charges against Antifa and Hamas supporters while labeling
going out.
traditional Catholics as domestic terrorists, the Catholics.
Oh,
They did very well with the Catholic Church, so I want to thank them for that. They imported
whatever happened with Pope Francis? I heard he was gonna die. Is he good now?
I would say, what's with the Catholics? They're really after the Catholics, so I don't know. We're after a lot of people.
He's good now? Good.
Maybe they didn't even know why. They imported illegal alien murderers, drug dealers, and child predators from all over the world to come into our country
You don't
while
have to
putting
read that off the
elderly
teleprompter.
Christians and pro-life activists on trial for singing hymns and for saying prayers. They went to jail for that. Our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over, and they are never going to come back. They're never coming back.
Now we're on script.
Get some revenge.
All right.
You're ready for
So now, as the chief law enforcement officer in our country,
fucking hurt?
I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred.
Get ready.
The American people have given us a mandate like few people
Off
thought
script.
possible.
Off the
We won
script.
every
I'm
single
not
swing
gonna
state.
make it easy.
We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. We won districts,
You're ready
2,750. Think of that, 2,750
This is
districts
real
compared to
firepower!
505. So we won it at levels that I don't believe ever seen before. That's the one where you see the map of the United States and it's all red. Red for Republican, not for communist. Red for Republican. They would like it to turn red for communist, but it didn't work out that way.
The current score
The American
is
people have given us
0,
a mandate and
3.
really a
Time to
just a
switch things up,
far-reaching
including which
investigation
side
is
you're
what
on.
they are demanding into the corruption of our system, and
Boy,
that's
you
exactly,
call it a
I'm sure,
raccoon,
what
huh?
Pam and
You'll need a
Cash and
top-notch
everyone
team to
else
win this one.
mentioned here and not mentioned is
Boy,
going
you
to be
call it a
doing.
raccoon, huh?
We
Sure.
will expel the rogue actors and corrupt forces from our government. We will
Back on script.
expose and very much expose
Back
their
on, all right.
egregious crimes and severe misconduct of which was levels
Off.
you've never seen.
Okay, now we're
anything
back
like
off.
it. It's going to be legendary. It's going to also be legendary for the people that are able to seek it
y'all-
out and bring justice.
I've watched
We
these
will
multiple
lower
times.
the scales
It's
of
so
the
obvious,
in
right?
America, and we will ensure that such abuses never happen again in our country. And that's why on day one I signed an executive order banning all government
Legendary.
censorship and directing the
30 seconds
removal of
before you
every
attack. Get
bureaucrat
ready.
who conspired to attack free speech and many other things and values in America. My administration stripped the security clearances of the disgraced intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop from Al. We revoked the clearances of deranged Jack Smith, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and the crooked law firms that aided their partisan persecution.
So he wrote that
And I
down.
went through it. These are
That's good.
All you need to do
State
is capture the mission
and
area.
city
Got it?
courts, and the corruption is
Off.
unbelievable.
Off again.
We also terminated the
back one.
clearance of the Biden crime family and Joe Biden himself. He didn't deserve it. In fact, he was essentially found guilty, but they said he was incompetent, and therefore let's not find him guilty. I guess. Nobody knows what that ruling was, but I didn't want any part of it. I think I would have rather been found guilty than what they found with him. They said he didn't know what the hell he was doing, and therefore he let him go. I said, you know, I'd rather be convicted than him. I think that was not. I said, please convict me. Don't say that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We removed senior FBI officials who misdirected resources to send SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6 hostages. And it was a great honor for me to fire, I will tell you this,
Sorry.
a great honor to fire James Comey. A
Great honor?
That was nothing. There was no better day. A lot of people said, "Oh, that's too bad you did that." They said that's going to be, and you know what? A year later, they said that actually saved the administration.
Wow.
Because the level of corrupt things that we learned after that turned out to be that they were doing, in fact, really bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things, and persecuted people, and all in the guise of being an angel. He wasn't an angel. We created a brand new DOJ task force and anti-Christian bias. And under Director Patel, we're getting the FBI agents out of the headquarters in Washington, D.C. and back on the streets in pursuit of dangerous criminals where they belong and where they want to be. And, you know, you have that big FBI building. And they were building, and they were going to build an FBI headquarters
Huge
3
building.
hours away in Maryland.
This is-
a liberal state, but that was still there.
By the way, we're off. Yeah, we're off right now.
We're going to let that happen. We're going to build another big FBI building right where it is, which would have been the right place because the FBI and the DOJ have to be near each other. You can't every. That's one thing I did learn from this persecution. The FBI and the DOJ work together. Now, in my case, they work together for bad purposes, but they do. They were always together. So how can you have one that's 3 hours away? But one thing I said to Cash, well, we're going to get a great building built. It's going to be a magnificent thing. He said, sir, we don't need that kind of room. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm just going to take an old Department of Commerce building that's about 25% the size, and that's what I need. We're going to have the best staff that you've ever seen, and that's what I need. It's in a nice location, but I don't need that big building. Why don't you just sell the site to somebody? And we're going to be very happy. And they want to have far fewer people, but we also want to have them in D.C. And if for no other reason, we like having law enforcement walking the streets of our capital.
Yeah.
Because when the bad guys are out there and they see there's an FBI agent,
That's true.
the ultimate in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And
Those
they're
are the
not gonna be acting
elites.
So good. We're cleaning up our city. We're cleaning up this great capital. And we're not going to have crime. And we're not going to stand for crime.
There's still so
and
much
we're going to take the graffiti down. And we're
Yellow
already
bar
taking the
bosses,
tents
yeah.
down.
Down to
And we're
30 seconds.
working with the administration. And if the administration can't do the job, we're going to take. We're going to have to take it back and run it through the federal government. But we hope the administration is going to be able. So far, they've been doing very well. The mayor's been doing a good job. We said there are tents galore right opposite the State Department. They have to come down, and they took them down right away. And so far, so good. But we want to have a capital that can be the talk of the world when Prime Minister Modi of India, when the President of France, and all of these
0,
people, the
2,
head
3.
of Prime Minister of United Kingdom, they all came to see me over the last week and a half.
This is off script, by the way.
And when they come in, I like to, I had the route run. I didn't want to have them see tents. I didn't want to have them see graffiti. I didn't want to have them see broken barriers and potholes in the roads, and we had it looking beautiful. And we're going to do that for the city. And we're going to have a crime-free capital. When people come here, they're not going to be mugged or shot or raped.
That'd be.
We're going to have a crime-free capital again. It's going to be cleaner and better and safer than it ever was, and it's not going to take us too long. There's a new
All right.
phenomenon that is taking place with these violent, vicious lawyers that we have all over. They play the ref. You know what playing the ref is? Like the great Bobby Knight basketball coach. He'd scream and scream at the ref.
Off
He'd
script,
scream.
by the way.
By the way, I love Bobby Knight because he endorsed me. And having Bobby Knight's endorsement in Indiana was an extremely good thing. A friend of mine said I was running in Indiana at the time. This was early on, 2016. And I was doing great. But
Okay.
a friend came up and said, "You know Bobby Knight?" I said, "No, I don't, but I hear he was a tough cookie." He said, "He's not only tough, he was beyond tough, but he's the most popular guy you can imagine." It turned out he wanted to endorse me. He called me about 2 years before. He said, "Sir, I'd like to endorse you." I said, "Is this really Bobby Knight?" I said, "It's me." I could tell it was Bobby Knight.
Now,
He
who
had
am I
been
gonna
known for
banish
throwing the
from
chair
this
across the
match?
court and slapping a player. Can't do things like that, right? And the man that came in fired him. He was a new administrator for the college. That guy didn't last very long. They were like 14-0, and they fired Coach Knight. That was not good, but he had a little chip on his shoulder. But he loved Trump, and he came in and he said, "I'd love to endorse you." He said, "If you ever run, please call me." So he said, "You know Bobby Knight?" I said, "Well, I don't know, but he called me a couple of years ago." It was an amazing phenomenon. I took his number, and on each side of my desk in New York, I had stacks of paper, like nice and neat, but about 2 feet high each. And I said, "You know, I wrote his number down and I put it here 2 years ago." And I said, "Let me see if I can find it." It was almost like a miracle. I had other miracles
Pick your
that happened
hero.
too. My ear
Or
is still
villain,
throbbing.
I'm not judging.
That was a miracle. That was a miracle also, wasn't it? That was a miracle also. Thank you. Thank you, Leo. Thank you. Thank you, Van.
What'd I miss?
That was a miracle.
What'd I miss?
Okay, that's it. That's very nice, thank you. But, so he said, "Bobby Knight." So I said,
Assassination
"You know, I
attempt?
put
Oh, another
his
one?
name down, and I wrote it down. It's in one of these stacks. Let me.
I do the right
lifted
thing
up. There would
unless
have
the
to be
wrong thing is
2,000
more
3,000 pages in each stack. I lifted it up, the first one, had
30
no idea.
seconds before you attack.
And there was his
Get
name
ready.
on a little card, Bobby Knight with his number. It was like incredible. I tell that story all the time. And I called him and dialed the number. He said, "I've been waiting for you to call." And he went out and he made a speech for me in a packed arena in Indiana, and it was over. It was over. He was a tough guy.
The battle
He
starts
actually
in 5, 4,
went a little far,
3,
you know. If you
2,
remember, he
1.
made a great speech because he was actually a
All you need to do is
motivational
capture
type
the
guy,
mission
to put it
area.
mildly.
Got it?
But he left the stage, and then I'm talking, and he walks back onto the stage. I said, "Uh-oh, this is trouble. Why is he coming back?" He was a big guy, too. Why is he coming back? He said, "Man, I said,
What
a
does
few
this
more
have
words."
to
I said, "Yeah, go ahead, Bob. You're always a little different."
Oh,
He
God.
said, "Let me tell you something about this guy, Trump. This guy, if he has to, will use the nuclear weapons that we have. He will
Oh,
use.
what the fuck?
He has no fear. He's going to use, and that's the kind of guy." And he walked
What
up
the
to me
fuck?
and said, I think I'm in big trouble, Pam." That was not good, but it worked out okay. In the meantime, we won the state in a landslide, and it was great, and it was just an amazing period.
Oh, God. Is this
But this
awesome?
is the most amazing period. I think this is more amazing. What's taking place?
Wow.
Is more amazing. I think it's more consequential, and if we do the job, you know, one of the big media outlets said what we did was the most consequential election in the last 129 years. Well, if we do the job that we're all capable of doing, I think it's going to prove to be that and then some, and that's
Yeah.
what we want to do. We have a real big shot at making this country so great, so great. What happened to our country is so sad. What they've done in 4 years to our country with the borders, with Afghanistan, the most embarrassing period of time, allowing the Russian situation, was never going to happen with Ukraine. allowing October 7th to happen would have never happened because under me, Iran was totally broke. They had no money. They weren't giving any money to Hamas or Hezbollah. Totally broke. But allowing inflation,
Would have never
look at what
happened.
inflation's done to people, been so devastating. And now you see that, by the way, price of eggs is down 35% in the last week and a half.
I did
We're
see
doing
that.
a good job. Brooke
Yeah.
is doing a good job. Brooke Rollins and everybody.
The eggs have gone down in price. It's
And
true.
inflation's down, interest rates are down,
I saw a
gasoline has
graph that
come
said it
down,
was true.
down to a level that we haven't seen in a long time. And all things that we wanted to do because then everything else is going to be coming down. We want it to come down. We want bacon to come down and groceries. A term I used to use, it's sort of an old-fashioned term, but I used to use it on the campaign trail, those last 90 perfect, beautiful days. We just did it. And I want to thank Susie. You have done a great job. Susie Wiles. Great
Man.
job, Susie.
Man,
A big magazine just named her the most powerful woman in the world, and that's okay with me. She is the most
what
powerful
happened to the
woman.
bacon
You
thing?
think about it, John, right? The most powerful woman in
That
the world,
just-
but she's great. And we had a great 90 days. It was a perfect 90 days, and it was a great result. But we want to put that result to good use by doing a phenomenal job.
Past that?
I want to tell you that
What bacon
Todd
thing,
and Emil
homie?
know this very well. We had an amazing judge in Florida.
Me, I got a
And-
plan.
Her
Yeah.
name is Eileen Cannon, and
Reading
I
the
didn't know
script.
her. I still don't know her. I don't believe I ever spoke to her, even during the
Off
trial.
script again.
But I did appoint her
30
federal
seconds
judge,
before you attack. Get ready.
and these fake lawyers, these horrible human beings, were hitting her so hard,
hit almost as hard
public
as I do,
relations
Fane.
wise. They were
I
playing
have the
the
iron
ref.
fist.
I don't think it's legal. I don't think it's legal. They might as well go out and just shout it in a courthouse.
Right, right.
They were saying she was slow, she wasn't smart,
You're just moving on,
she
bro.
was totally biased.
The battle starts in 5,
She loved
4,
Trump.
3,
I didn't know
2,
her,
1.
other than I saw her
All you need to do
a couple
is
of days
capture
that I
the
was in
mission area.
court, and I
Got it?
thought her decorum was amazing.
Y'all a bunch of
Anything bad they could
I
say,
can do
though,
this
they were saying
myself.
about her, it was whatever they could say bad about a human being, all made up.
This is a
Because
nice
actually she was brilliant. She
On
moved
script.
quickly.
All right, back
She
on
was the
script.
absolute model of what a judge should be. And she was strong and tough. And how do you get them
Still on
to stop
script.
if you're a judge? How do you get them to stop with the playing the ref? Bobby Knight would play the ref. That's why I brought up the Bobby Knight story. He would play the ref. He'd scream at the ref. He'd scream so hard. Oh, boy, it was terrible, actually. And the people would come up, his assistant coaches would come up to players. Coach, don't do that. Don't do it. He said he's not going to change his tune, coach. He called it. He's not changing. I don't care. And he's screaming. That's when he threw the chair. He starts going crazy. And he said, no, he's not going to change this time. He's going to change for the next play. And sure as hell he did. You know, Bobby, by the way, had the last undefeated team in basketball. And relatively speaking, you know, he had that team. He always had a team. He never had that. Well, he had a couple of great players, obviously. One top NBA players, but very few. Relatively, he had a team. But he won the national championship 3 times. But he had the last undefeated team in basketball. And he would play the ref, and he would scream at him. He knew exactly what he was doing. They're doing the same thing. He said, no, he's not going to change now, but he's going to change for the next one. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to scare the hell. They wanted to scare the hell out of the judges, and they did.
Half of the mission area. Keep
Back
How
going.
do you
on
stop
script.
it
Back
if you're a judge?
oh,
Because you want to
never
go
mind.
home, you have a family, you have children, and the New York Times will write whatever these people say.
Team meeting. Right
The
here.
Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and
Oh, God.
MSDNC, and the fake news CNN, and ABC, CBS, and NBC, and they'll write whatever they say. And what do you do to get rid of it? You convict Trump. All you have to do is be really tough on him and ultimately convict him, and then leave you alone. It's totally illegal what they do.
Whatever happened with the bacon?
It's totally illegal. And it was so unfair what they were doing to her. But they do it all the time with judges. But in her case, she was very courageous, and
launching
it
again.
only made her angry. Wouldn't you say? It just made her angry. She didn't like it. A lot of them say, oh, please don't say that about me. My family, what's my husband going to say? What's my wife going to say? Or my
Keep
kids?
fighting until we have a winner.
Please don't say that. And It had absolutely no impact on her in the case against me, which was
It's
a case I would not use a bad word. I promised my wife I would never use a bad word, so just a little bad. The case against me was bullshit. And she correctly dismissed it. She correctly,
Oh, Jesus.
she correctly. Look at him, that's interesting.
Oh, God.
But these two guys were warriors. You got a warrior here. You got two warriors, I can tell you that. You got a whole bunch of them. But, and they wouldn't quit.
Oh,
They wouldn't
man.
take no for an answer. They just wouldn't quit. These two people right up here, some others that are involved
This
with
is
it
amazing.
indirectly. And what the lawyers do is they're doing it to the Supreme Court justices, hoping that they'll be overcome by the horrible things they say about them. They say things about Supreme Court
Yeah.
justices and judges that are just horrible. They're playing the ref. Remember the way they
Please.
treated Justice Thomas and Justice Alito
Yeah.
and Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Gorsuch.
Yeah, they did. They
Chief
were pretty
Justice
hard on
Roberts
Kavanaugh.
gets treated unbelievably badly, and they're hoping that they can sway them to go along because, again, what do? They're humans. You know, like it would be wonderful
is-
if everybody was just a perfect computer machine.
Everything's
But they're not.
computer.
They're humans, and they don't want to be accused of many, many things, including gross incompetence. They don't like it, and they don't want it. There's not much they can do about it. You know, they're in a position they can't really fight back
What shoe
really
do you
very
think
well.
you want to be today?
And so what they do is sometimes they
Who are
get
you
weak.
calling a raccoon?
I would say
huh?
a majority, maybe, of the times.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so impressed with Judge Cannon in Florida, how strong she was, how she held up. It actually made her
Now,
more
who am I
resolute
gonna
than
banish from
anything
this
I've seen. I mean,
country
it was
are we gonna
amazing
annex
'cause they were
today?
hitting her so hard. It was so sad to watch this. But it's sad what they do to other
Australia.
judges. It's very sad what they do to the Supreme Court. And a lot of the judges that
We're gonna annex
I had,
Hawaii.
if you look at them, they take tremendous abuse in the New York Times and the Washington Post, all of the different networks. They take such abuse. And honestly, very simply, they're afraid of bad publicity. They don't want bad publicity. And it's truly interference, in my opinion, and it should
Yeah.
be illegal, and it probably is illegal in some form. There's no difference than speaking to a judge or shouting to a judge or doing
Yeah.
whatever you have to do in a
Pick your
courthouse. They're
hero
doing it behind
or
the
villain.
back. They're
I'm not
usually doing it
judging.
anonymously. They're saying anonymously off the record, the judge is no good, but everybody knows where it's coming from.
Yeah.
And it's totally coordinated. It's a campaign, and it's by the same scum that you have been dealing with for years, like guys like Andrew Weissman, deranged Jack Smith. There's a guy named Norm Eisen. I don't even know what he looks like. His name is Norm Eisen of Crew. He's been after me for 9 years. Now, Crew is a charitable organization. And,
This is, by the way, it's
and the
off
reason
script
I'm saying
again.
this, Pat, is I'm only going to get one chance to say this. But these are bad
Sit
people.
down. You want
I don't
your
know
heroes
who
a
he
little
is. I
roguish
don't know
and
what he
scruffy.
looks
Yeah.
like.
Like me.
But everything I read is Norm Eisen of Crew.
30
And Crew is
seconds
a
before you
charitable
attack.
organization.
Get ready.
And that's a political thing. His sole life is to get Donald Trump.
There's
And
no
he's been
shooter like me,
vicious
buddy.
and violent. And he's trying, and he probably had pretty good success over the years. But with me, how did he do? I think I'm president. Am I here because I'm president? But we had to take all of that abuse, even during the
battle
trials.
starts
We
in
had to take
5,
tremendous abuse,
4,
like, these
3,
wonderful guys. They're not
2,
legitimate people
1.
there.
This is
They're
really
horrible
All you need to
people.
do
They're
is
scum.
capture the mission area.
And
Got it?
you have to
This
know
is
that. And
crazy.
you're going to have these cases where you can't allow yourselves to be deflected. You just can't let it happen. You have you have such a higher calling. And I believe that CNN and MSDNC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party. And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal. What they do is illegal.
Yeah.
It makes no difference how big a victory I had. I can have the biggest victory in history. It makes no difference what kind of a failure the other side has. These people are going to go after me, and I said it during the other night during the big speech on Tuesday night, which I said about Democrats, and I don't like that. I have great respect, by the way, for what Schumer did today. He went out and he said that They have to vote with the Republicans because it's the right thing to do. I couldn't believe what I heard. But you know, I think he's going to get some credit for it. I think. We'll see
Yeah,
what
he
happens.
did get a lot of credit for it.
But
He sure did.
these networks and these newspapers are really no different than a highly paid political operative.
I'll patch you
And
up.
it has to stop. It has to be illegal. It's influencing judges. And it's really changing law. And it just cannot be legal. I don't believe it's legal. And they do it in total coordination with each other. And everything we do, we're restoring law, restoring order, and restoring public safety in America. That's what we want to do.
Great.
And we're bringing honor and integrity and accountability back to the highest levels of the
All right, we're
FBI,
back on
DOJ,
script.
and throughout our government.
Back on script. Here we go.
We're bringing our country back faster than anyone ever thought possible. We're working so hard at doing it, and we want fairness in the courts. The courts are a big factor. The elections, which were totally rigged, are a big factor. We have to have honest elections. We have to have borders, and we have to have courts and law that's fair. Well, we're not going to have a country. Crooked Joe Biden got us into a real mess with Russia and everything else he did, frankly, but he didn't know about it. And
This
he,
is
generally
real
speaking, signed it with
firepower.
AutoPen, so how would he know? That AutoPen is a big deal. I don't know, you know, they're having, who's doing this? So when my people come up, Will and all of the people, Steve, they come up and, sir, this is an executive order. They explain it to me, and, you know, 90% of the time I sign it, 99% of the time I say do it. But they come up and I sign it. But, you know,
By the
it's,
eye of Agamotto!
number one, it's disrespectful to the office. Number two, maybe it's not even valid because, you know, who's getting him to sign? You have no idea what the hell he is
Biden
doing.
was
If he did,
sponsored by
all of these
DocuSign. That's why he
things
did it.
happening right now. But we're going to get you back into a great position. We've already started. They say that we had the most successful first month of presidency. Not a long time, but it's still a lot. It's like if you're a golfer, sinking a 3-foot putt on the first hole gives you confidence to sink something on the second hole. But if you miss that first putt, you don't like that putt on the second hole and the third hole. It could be a very bad
careful here.
experience. It's nice to get that first month, and now we have more than a month. Now we have a month and a half, and it's going really, really well. I can tell you as a little secret, although
30
the cameras
seconds
are
before you
blazing
attack.
right there, so it's
Get
not
ready.
that much. But I think we're doing well, as you have been hearing about Ukraine. I think we're doing now well with
I'll make it with you,
Russia.
Bucky. Go
we're
on.
speaking
Name
with
it first.
President Putin. We want to get the war over.
Yikes. I mean,
Not only have we
technically I ain't a
spent maybe
raccoon, but
$350
something
billion
tells me I
to
should
Europe.
push my luck.
Think of that, 350 billion to 100 billion, and yet we're across the
battle
ocean
starts in
far
5,
away, so it shouldn't have been that
4,
way. But Biden let that
3,
happen too.
2,
And
1.
we're getting a deal where
All you
we're
need to
going to
do
get
is
that
capture the
back, but
mission
much
area.
more importantly are the
Got it?
lives that we're talking
Once I
about.
saved lives with a
On average,
scalpel.
2,000 young
Now I
people
do
are
it
being
with a
killed every
spell.
single day. Now, they're not from here. They're from nowhere close to here, but they're young people. They're human beings, and they have parents.
Patch you up.
They have sisters and brothers, the mothers and fathers, the friends,
Wait,
and
former
families,
usage. All right, calm down.
the towns where they grew up. And they're losing, on average, 2,000, even 2,500 a week. And I want to get it stopped. And we've had some very good calls today with Russia and with Ukraine. They've agreed for a ceasefire if we can get it with Russia. And it's not easy.
Oh.
It's a tough one. But I think we're doing it. And as the Secretary
Yeah.
General said yesterday of NATO, a terrific guy, he said without Trump, we wouldn't be talking about it. It would just go on for years, and millions of people have been killed, but millions more people would be killed. And he said it was a great honor. Without me, it would just keep going on. We're looking for the ceasefire now with Russia, and we've had some very good talks about it. We've had some very good responses. And I can tell you that there was a case where there would have been no war if I were president. And it's just 100% would not have happened, would never have happened. I used to speak to President Putin a lot about it. I said, don't do it. Don't do it. I won't tell you what the consequence was. I won't tell you what he said. But if he believed even 5% of what I said, then he would say, I'm not going to do it. And I think he did. But we had a good relationship, and we had a professional relationship. his respect for this country. And I think we've had some very good results. So I haven't been able to say that to anybody else. I haven't wanted to say it until just before I came here. I got some pretty good news. So, but we have to see what happens. It's a long way to go. The fighting is unbelievable. Russia has a large group of Ukrainian soldiers, as we speak, surrounded and in great danger. They've been able to surround them in great danger. Biden should have never let this war happen. First of all, you don't want to pick on somebody that's a lot larger than you, even with the money. There's a lot of money that we gave them and a lot of equipment. We make the best military equipment in the world, but even with all of that, it's unbelievable. Right now, you have a lot of Ukrainian soldiers that are encircled.
Sorry about
Great
that.
danger. I've asked them not to kill those soldiers, please. Not to
Don't kill
those
them. All right.
We don't want them killed. It's such a shame to see what's happened. A thing like that would have never happened. Inflation would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. Israel, Iran had no money. They were totally broke. Think of it. They had no money to give to anybody. They were totally broke. And within a short period of time, as soon as Biden came in, he took out all the sanctions. And China and everybody else that wasn't buying oil from Iran was buying it at levels that they never spent before. And it was a sad thing. If you look at Afghanistan, that was probably what got Putin started, because when he looked at how horribly we looked, I think the most embarrassing day, not that we got out because we were getting out, I would have been out faster than them. I was the one that got it down to the right level. But we would have kept Bagram, the big Air Force base, we would have kept it. Right now, China occupies Bagram, and the reason we would have kept it is because they were 1 hour away from where China has and builds its nuclear missiles
Range
and
election
weapons.
speech when? No, he already did
And
that.
they gave that up. At the dark of night, they left the lights on.
He already did that.
They left the dogs behind, by the way. A lot of people say, what about all the dogs? They had a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
And they left the dogs behind. And what a shame. What a shame. The way we got out, I think it was the most humiliating time in the history of our country. The way it happened. Not that we were getting out, because we wanted to get out, but we would have gotten out with dignity and strength. And what a difference a rigged and crooked election had on our country when you think
Who was
about
that
it.
guy
and the
that
people
just asked?
who
who
did
was
this to us should go to jail.
Who was it
Go
that
to
just
jail.
asked?
So I just want to say God bless America, because we have to say God bless. We're lucky we're still here, frankly. And this whole thing could lead, I think we have it. But this could lead to World War III very easily. Could very easily lead to World War III, but I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yep.
A lot better than we were before we got involved, that I can tell you. That was heading into World War III territory, and that would have been
That's
a war
real
like
bad.
no other because of nuclear weapons and other types of weapons that, hey, people, you don't even
Seeing the
want to know
crowds
about.
fall asleep. I feel
But
like
as many of you do know, well, we're focused on persecuting, and these people were really focused on
script.
persecuting Republicans. The last administration presided over the worst increase in violent crime in our country
Back on
in
script.
many, many decades. We had levels of violence and crime, and a lot of it had to do with the illegal immigrants that came in. Remember when I used to complain about it? Because I knew how tough they were, how mean they were. And they said, no, people that come into our country are all wonderful people. No, they're not wonderful. These are stone cold killers. These are killers like, they make
Which
our
hero
killers
do you
look
think you wanna be
nice by
today?
comparison. They make our killers look nice. These are rough, tough people with the tattoos all over their face. Historically
timeline
speaking, I
exists
don't want to
where
discriminate
Magneto
against
lives.
anybody, but historically speaking, they're not going to be the head of any major bank that we know of.
Now, who am I
These are
gonna
rough
banish for
people.
this
These are
match?
rough
Oh,
killer
God.
people, and they allowed them in by the millions.
our killers look nice.
In
have a
major
Loki
cities
and
like New York,
Luna,
Chicago,
man.
They have
and
the good
Washington,
killers. They have the
mothers
bad
can't
ones.
walk their children to
They also
the
have a
park
Hawkeye,
without
man.
fear of being shot
Mm-hmm.
or killed or raped or anything.
Oh,
Women
shit.
can't ride the subway without worrying that
Oh.
a hoodlum will shove them onto the train tracks.
A hoodlum.
In New York, it's happened twice in the last couple of weeks.
That's
They're
real
standing
bad.
there, perfect Wall Street
that's
gentleman in
crazy.
one case, and another person who was
I
a
heard of
Very
that.
bad in
good
Hawkeye,
worker.
maybe.
electrician gets pushed into a train going 45 miles an hour just prior to the train, not stopping, going to go through that. So I know
No one
the
plays
stations very
Storm
well.
on
I
their
used to
team.
take the subway. I used to feel safe when I was young. I'd go to my parents would drop me off at the subway. I'd take the subway to my school. Can you believe it? Today, they wouldn't be doing that. And we want to back. We want to get a country back. Maybe where you can do that again, Pam.
Yeah, that's
But it's so
true.
sad to
Okay,
see
all right, I agree
what's
with that.
taking
Yeah.
place under the Biden regime. Average
The year for that
monthly
was
homicides increased by
1894.
14%. Property crime rose tremendously.
college
Violent
then.
crime went up at least 37% that they know of. Rape soared by 42%. Car theft rose by 48%. And robberies surged to 63 to 100%. They don't even know what the number is. And I have no higher mission as President of the United States than to end this killing and stop this law breaking and to making America safe again. And that's what you're all about in this room. We want to protect Americans, and we protect everybody that's in our country, American or not American. We want to have a safe and proud country. We're joined today by dozens of police officers, sheriffs and sheriffs, deputies
Back on script.
from all across the country. My message to these law enforcement heroes is simple. With me in the White House, you once again have a president who will always have your back. Will always have your back.
Great.
Stop them from securing the mission area.
Thank you, Paul.
How can you talk so much with no break? No break, no water. There's probably no script
There's a
here.
lot of good-looking people. I will tell you, I feel safe. I'm glad you're in the room. I feel even safer. There's a lot of great people. On day one, I signed an executive order directing Attorney General to ensure that anyone who murders a police officer immediately, with as fast a trial as we can have,
gonna kill
gets the death penalty.
Boom. We gonna kill him. Does she have like cannon maybe?
And last month, I fired all the radical left pro-crime U.S. attorneys appointed by Joe Biden. There were so many that were bad, and I know that there were some that were probably very good, but there were so many that were so bad and so evil, so corrupt. Instead of having Marxist prosecutors who want to put police officers in handcuffs and go after a police officer rather than a criminal, I appointed patriotic, tough-on-crime warriors who will partner with police to put dangerous offenders behind bars, put them in
Yeah.
jail. We're fully reviving 1033 program to provide state and local law enforcement with surplus military equipment. That we have so much of it. I did it in my last administration, and I remember Obama wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it before me. Would not do it. Because he thought it made them look too strong, too military. I said, no, that's what I wanted them to look like. I want them to look strong. And it was protective, defensive equipment. We had billions of dollars. I gave it out, and now I'm going to have a chance to give it out again. They didn't want to do it with Biden.
I
And
am
Biden
ready
didn't
to
know
run
why.
a
I
show.
didn't, they would have asked him. He wouldn't have been able to answer the question. He could never answer a question. They said my press conference yesterday was longer than all of Biden's press conferences put together for the last 4 years. And I don't know if that's true, but it was close.
Jesus.
And perhaps most importantly, we're securing our border and repelling
They're gonna have
the
Moon Knight
invasion of
Bolt. Watch
America.
out.
We have,
Yeah.
you see the
Sleepy
numbers that's
Joe.
come down. So, and Tom Homan and Christie were
And they're gonna have Strange
You
Hulk.
guys like
Strange
Sleepy
Hulk.
Joe or Crooked Joe more?
secretary. She's done great. And Tom Homan is, I don't know if Tom Homan's here, but wherever he may be, I think he's chasing people who've had more country. If he was here, I'd almost be disappointed. What are you doing, Tom? But he's a fantastic guy. And he's a brave guy. Over the past 4 years, other countries emptied out their
Is this
prisons and
Crooked Hillary?
jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums, and
Judge,
sent the
jury,
killers, drug smugglers, and bloodthirsty inmates from the filthiest dungeons of the world straight into the USA. And open border. We had an open border policy. Anybody could come in, no matter what you were, no matter where you came from, no matter what you looked like, no matter what you were doing, no matter what you did, no matter how many people you murdered, you could come right into our country. We have murderers right now walking the streets. We're joined today by Tammy Nobles, whose 20-year-old daughter, Kayla, was attacked in her
Yeah, go
home
get 'em.
3 years ago, horrifically assaulted and strangled to death by an illegal alien MS-13 monster set loose
Yeah, they're gonna have
into our
Lunar Roll
country
and
under
Cadaver
the
Roll.
open border Biden regime. Kayla was one of countless American victims ripped away from their families by the open border policies of that administration. We're also joined by Kayla's stepfather, Jeremiah, and several other courageous angel families here today. And I'd love you to all just stand up and take a bow because you are incredible people. Please.
Man.
Thank you.
Man. Man.
Thank you.
How about that?
Current score
Thank you
is
very much.
0-0.
Thank
Time
you.
to switch things up, including which
But I want you
side
to
you're
know
on.
that we are working every day to expel these savages from our country and ensure that what
You think
happened to
Biden
your loved
watches any of
ones
this?
will never happen again. So their legacy is going to be a great
You'll
one.
need
Thank
a
you all very
top-notch
much.
team
Yeah,
to
I
win
think
this
he
one.
does.
On
I
day
bet he
one
does.
of my administration, I declared a national emergency on our southern border. In our first full month in office, we achieved the lowest level of illegal border crossings ever recorded.
That's a lot.
Even lower than 4 years ago.
Ooh.
For years, Democrats and the media kept saying that we needed new legislation. We had to have new
This is the new
legislation. We
president.
needed it immediately. And I never had legislation. And I had the best border in the history of our country for almost
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah.
And by the time I got out, we had the lowest numbers ever. My favorite
30
chart of
seconds
all
before you
time was
attack.
brought down
Get
that
ready.
day. And on that chart said we had the lowest numbers ever. But it turned out that we really didn't need new legislation. All you needed was a new president.
Mjolnir can only be lifted by those who cling to will.
And I said that the other night. That's all you needed was a new president saying, close the borders because the Border Patrol
Yeah.
is unbelievable, ICE is unbelievable, and all of our law enforcement is just incredible. All of you guys are amazing, and the people of our country respect you and they love you, and a lot of times you don't hear that because you have to listen to the fake news back there, but they have great respect for you, so I just wanted to know that. And you know, that includes our fire departments, too.
Yeah.
They don't get spoken about enough. You know, they go into some of the areas I read where they're shooting them off ladders. Can you believe it? They go up to put out a fire, Leo, and they go and they shoot them off a ladder.
What, like Helm's Deep?
It's just unbelievable. These firefighters are incredible. So I want to put them in the same category. They're just incredible. I also like the fact they voted for me like at 94%, so I have to mention them. I have no choice, right? But the truth is they're phenomenal people. Law enforcement, fire, everybody, they're phenomenal. Basically first responders, because that's what they are. They're first responders. And we're ending the migrant occupation of America. And what we're doing now is we're liberating our cities and our suburbs
Yeah.
and our towns. And you see a big difference. I'm getting calls all the time from even leaders of other countries saying, sir, the whole world feels liberated now. It feels like there's a light over America, but there's a light over the whole world. I hear that so much. It's so nice to hear, too. And I feel it. I mean, I feel it. I look at it. I see the polls. I don't know if the polls are right, but they're certainly very good. I'll take them right now.
For sure.
Amazing what's taken place in such a short period of time. Really 6 weeks, but it's longer than that. It's really November 5th. I think that hopefully will go down, if you do your job great, it'll go down as the most important day, one of them at least in the history of our country. You know, July 4th was pretty, 1776, it was pretty important too. But let's see if we can top it. Can we top it? I don't know. That's a tough one, but we're going to try. But it will be one of the most important days in the history of our country. So I think, and I think everybody in this room wants that to happen. Last month, we officially designated MS-13 and Trendiragua. That's the Venezuelan gang, the toughest gang, they
Campaigning
say,
for
in the
his third
world, and the
term?
Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. That's a big deal. Nobody wanted to do that in the past. And by the way, we've caught hundreds of them, the Venezuelan gang, which is
Which hero do
as
you
bad
think
as
you
it
wanna
gets.
be
And you'll be
today?
reading a lot of stories tomorrow about what we've done with them. And you'll be very impressed, and you'll feel a lot safer, too, because they are a vicious group. They went into Colorado. They took over areas of Colorado. They sort of were like me. They were in the real estate business, but they didn't go out and get financing. They just took over a building and kept it. And they said to the tenants, get the hell out of here. One man called the police and they cut off his fingers, and they say, you call again, your other fingers, and you call a third time, and you're dead. These are tough people and bad people, and we're getting them out of our country. And some are so bad, we don't want to get them out. We have to put them in jail because we don't want to even take a chance that they can come back. Thanks to our efforts, Mexico
Undocumented real
recently
estate
handed over
developers?
29 of the biggest cartel leaders, including the depraved kingpin charged with the 1985 murder of DE agent Kiki Camarena. And that was a big deal, if you know. They've been looking for this person for years, many
Going
years.
to Guantanamo
and we
Bay,
got
yeah.
him. This evil killer will be now prosecuted to the fullest
Pick
extent
your
of the
hero.
law.
Or villain.
And
I'm
we
not
know
judging.
that, let's put it this way, I have to be nice. It's a very strong case. We're stopping the criminals pouring across our borders at record levels, and we're also stopping the massive quantities of deadly drugs. In 2023 alone, drug overdoses killed more Americans in 12 months than they did during the entire decade between 1980 and 1990, so 10 times more, but it's much higher than that. More Americans died from fentanyl last year than died in the Korean War, or the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, all of them combined.
What the fuck?
That's why I've placed large tariffs on Mexico,
what?
Canada, and China, and they will remain in place until
30
these deadly
seconds before you
poisons
attack.
stop pouring
Get
into
ready.
our country. And I will tell you, as soon as I put on the tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China, unbelievable results have been seen in the last few weeks. Unbelievable results.
There's no
They weren't
shot,
happy
right?
about it. You probably read they weren't happy, but they are working like hell to end it. They weren't working very hard before I did that. With us today is a brave
battle
mother
starts in
and
5,
advocate, Ann
4,
Fundner, who
3,
lost her beautiful
2,
15-year-old
1.
son, Weston, to
I got a
fentanyl.
lot of junkies.
And
Yeah.
Ann, if you would,
Got it?
I'd like to ask you to come up and say a few words, please. Thank you.
Oh, here we go. I look into it. Yeah, I don't even know if that's true, man. That sounds crazy. You didn't know? Yes, it's more. I didn't know. Why does that surprise you? I don't know. I just thought it would be a lot. Yeah, I have no idea. Okay. All right. She's gonna go and talk about this. Let's go.
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Okay.
First, I want to say thank you. I think this is the biggest honor of my entire life, being on stage with President Trump. But I want to tell you a little bit about my son, Weston, who absolutely loved President Trump. We had a beautiful Trump 2020 flag hanging in his bedroom, and we had it on the beach one day, and we took a picture, and it became our 2020 Christmas card with the most perfect slogan for President Trump: peace on earth. But what happened in the next 4 years would be devastational to our country and our safety of our children. And in 2022, Weston lost his life, a freshman in high school at the age of 15, from a single pill that took his life. The cartels were allowed to operate on American soil and took hundreds of thousands of American lives. And so we knew there was only one person that could save us from the devastation
Who could it be?
on our American soil, and that was President Trump. And so in 2024,
what I thought.
we did the best thing that we could do to keep America safe again. And we elected President Donald J. Trump.
Some guy said George.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And he's done everything that he's promised. He had a 98% decrease in border crossings.
That's a lot less.
And he has labeled the cartels terrorist organizations. And he has instilled tariffs because there is no price on human life. And so I feel like I can speak for the entire fentanyl fighting community when I say thank you to President Trump.
Yeah.
And thank you to Pam Bondi and everyone out here who is fighting this fight. God bless you. God bless you, President Trump. And God bless America.
He's up there watching you.
Powers are mine!
Us against the world.
Oh man. Yep.
Thank you, Ann, very much. Weston is, I just said to Ann, Weston is up in heaven watching his mom, and he's so proud of you. He's so proud of you. Thank you. We're also joined today by a number of other American families who have lost loved ones to fentanyl. And I'd love you to just stand up for a second, and we want to acknowledge you. And also your daughters, your sons, they're looking down on you, and they're loving you like crazy. So thank you very much.
That was unpredictable. Yeah, I didn't expect him to do that. Back on the script. Yeah, just a bit, a little bit.
This department will not rest until we have ended the fentanyl epidemic in America once and for all. In less than 2 months since I took office, the DEA and FBI have seized nearly 1 million deadly doses of fentanyl, and that's just the beginning.
Fentanyl is bad. Can we get now in the chat for fentanyl?
At my direction and working with Pam and everybody else, we've launched an all-out war on fentanyl traffickers.
Yeah, true.
It's a war that we're going to win. We're going to win this war. I spoke with the president of Mexico, very nice woman, very fine woman, and I said, let me ask you, you're sending a lot of drugs into our country. We're not liking it at all. Can't do that.
Yeah, that would be bad.
But I said, is Mexico, does it have
Drugs
much
real
of a drug?
bad.
She said, no, we're not a consuming nation. I thought it was an interesting term. And I said, why? And which I've heard also, by the way, they're not a consuming nation.
What does that mean?
They distribute, but they don't consume. But I said, why are you not a consuming? Well, we're very close to family. I said, so we're very close with family too. Our families are being devastated, and we're just as close. Why else? I said, well, we spend a lot of money on advertising, saying how bad drugs are. They're very rough things. They show the skin falling off and the teeth falling out, going blind, losing hair, and everything that these things do.
I've never done fentanyl,
A horrible concentration camp.
I never have.
She said it was the rough edge. And
Before you bring it up,
often that I feel I've learned something from a phone call. I've had a lot of phone calls over my life. But I realized right then and there what a great idea that is. And we have hired Susie, a great person who did a lot of our campaign work. And we've come up with an advertising campaign that's, I think, really incredible. More than anything else, it's terrible to watch. Terrible to watch. It's the only way it's going to work. And I would be, because we got the numbers down, 18% would have a blue ribbon committee headed by the First Lady of the United States, who everyone loves, and some of her friends. And, you know, they work so hard, but it's a tough deal. They're dealing with very smart and very vicious people. You know, some of those businesses, those cartels are run better than any business in America. They say they're run incredible, not just here, they all over the world. They run like a major business, but in many cases better. And I said, we got it 18% down. Well, 18% is incredible. It's like a record, but when you think of it, it's not very much. And the way you get it down, if you want to get it down to close to 100%, is with the death penalty. But I think maybe America is not ready for that. China has the death penalty. Singapore has the death penalty. Various places have the death penalty. Wherever you have the deth penalty, you don't have drugs. But I just don't know if this country is ready for it. So I tell people, and it's always an option, but I don't know. I just don't know if you're ready for it, and that's okay. It's nothing you can do. But what we're going to do is begin this campaign.
We'll be okay with this.
And I think we can get it down 50% with this campaign, because when people see all the horrible things that these drugs do
The
to
new
you,
campaign.
we're especially focused on fentanyl, when they see all of the horrible things that happen when you take drugs, how you look, you lose your look. Everyone's vain, they don't want to lose their look. The look is so important, and I think when they see these things, they may say, you know what, I'm going to take a pass. But there is big danger. Pam and I were talking about it before. A lot of people are taking fentanyl and not even knowing. They think they're doing something else, or maybe taking another drug, but at a much lower level. And they die. You can put on the pin, think of this, the head of a pin, fentanyl, and it's too much, and it will kill the strongest person in the room. And
What the fuck?
it's amazing. But we're going to do this campaign. It's going to be launched fairly soon, Susie. And I think it's going to have a big impact.
Damn.
I think if we got it down by another 30, 35 points. And I really believe we can. I think that's an incredible idea. So I thank the president of Mexico, actually. It was a call on tariffs, and we talked about drugs. And she gave me an idea that I think will be very successful, and based on what I saw, it's going to be amazing. Under our leadership, this department is once again laser focused on protecting the American people. We're defending our borders, our streets, our children, and good, God-given. This is God-given rights and liberties once and for all. We're going to defend our country, and we're going to defend our rights. Etched onto the walls of this building are the words English philosopher John Locke said, "Where law ends, tyranny begins." And I see that, and I saw it over the last 4 years when somebody was allowed to attack viciously with this department and the FBI. His political opponent. How did that work out? Didn't work out too well, but it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant. I was attacked by a political opponent. And probably it helped that I was attacked more than anybody in the history of our country. Alphonse Capone, the great Alphonse Capone, legendary Scarface, was attacked only a tiny fraction of what Trump was attacked.
Scarface, great.
Maybe it worked out well. I don't know. If I had to give it up, I probably wouldn't, but only because I've gone through it. But I wonder what the difference would be. Maybe they helped get me elected by those margins, the big margins, the big mandate that we received. But you can't go after your political opponent. Nobody's ever seen anything like it, actually. And hopefully they won't see anything like it. But now, with the return of law and order, the entire world is witnessing the triumph of American justice and American freedom. That's why we're here today, gathered with people that have love for our country. In the coming years, we will revive the storied legacy of this department. It's happening right now. You can feel it. And rekindle the spirit of the great lawmen and legal lions of the past. Americans like Wyatt Earp, Elliot Ness, Frank Hammer, Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani had to suffer greatly. The greatest man in the history of our country had to suffer greatly. Ed Meese, Antonin Scalia, Robert Jackson, Robert F. Kennedy. We will rebuild pride in our institutions. We will restore the prestige of this great department, and we will bring back faith in our justice system for the citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. And I want to just tell you that this has been a great honor. I was asked to do it, and I said, is it appropriate that I do it? And then I realized it's not only appropriate, I think it's really important. And I may never do it again. I may never have another chance to do it again, because this is something that I'm leaving to the greatest people I know, the best people, the smartest people, the toughest people I know. And they're going to do an incredible job. And it's an honor for me to have won this election so that I can appoint these people to do their job, and they're going to do it like you have never seen. So I just want to wish all of you good luck. It's going to be an interesting journey. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to win. You're going to win, and fight, and it's going to end up being a tremendous result for this country. So thank you all very much. God bless America. God bless you all. Thank you.
No. That's right. That's right, boys.
We can no longer hide from the
Oh, shit. Oh, wow. Jesus Christ.
30 seconds before you
All
attack.
right, as you see there, we were just listening in to President Trump as he made remarks there at the Department of Justice.
Wow.
This was a long-awaited speech, and so we've been promising that we're going to bring it to you
Wow.
here on the Live Now Fox for the last few hours. But again, during that speech, talking about a myriad of things, but still focusing a lot on fentanyl and what his administration...
Man, like, that
The battle
was...
starts in 5, 4, 3, 2,
Like, I feel
1.
like that was a...
All you need to do is capture the
He
mission
really
area.
just kind of
Got
let
it?
go. He did. Like, he just let go. He was bringing up about like a conversation that he had with a basketball coach, and like how many times the basketball like, damn, man. And then you don't get embarrassed by him. why would I get embarrassed? Like, I didn't, like, I didn't, I'm not doing it, it's him doing it. Yeah, like, I don't give a fuck. Like, yeah, I think it's funny. Like, I think it's funny. Like,
Who killed John Arryn and why? It's one of the biggest mysteries driving the early action in A Song of Ice and Fire, but who actually did it? Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to In Deep Geek. On this channel we cover A Song of Ice and Fire and all of George R.R. Martin's wider world of Ice and Fire, along with The Lord of the Rings and The Witcher. If you're new, welcome. John Arryn's death, which happens just before the start of the main story in A Song of Ice and Fire, is one of the key mysteries that drives the action in the first couple of books. John was Hand of the King, respected by almost everyone and trusted by King Robert Baratheon. Then he died. Although he was not a young man, we are encouraged almost immediately to view his death as suspicious, particularly when, like for most of Book 1, we see this from a Stark perspective. John Arryn was Ned's foster father and Kat's brother-in-law, so this was personal for the Starks. And straight away we're told that it was murder through a letter from Lysa Arryn, John Arryn's wife, to her sister Kat, in code so only she would understand it. We don't read the exact text, but she names Cersei Lannister as having murdered John. Kat then pushes Ned to accept the post of Hand of the King and go to King's Landing. Then he can investigate and find out the truth. So that is what Ned is thinking as he heads down south, and what he starts investigating. Did Cersei do it? And if so, why? What possible motivation could Cersei have for killing good old John Arryn? Not that Ned needs much persuasion that the Lannisters did it, he already held them in quite low esteem, particularly Jaime, but why? The clues quickly start racking up. John's last words, "The seed is strong," that book he had been reading with the hair colours of the children of each noble family, seeing Robert's bastard children and how they had such black hair and looked a lot like him, and the curious case of Sir Hugh of the Vale, John Arryn's squire, who was knighted and seemed to come into a lot of money immediately after his death, and was then brutally killed himself by the Mountain, a Lannister loyalist, at the Hand's Tourney, just before Ned could question him. Ned comes to the conclusion that John Arryn had been investigating the parentage of Cersei's children, had discovered about the whole twincest thing, and Cersei had ordered his death, probably paying Sir Hugh of the Vale to poison him while he was Jon's squire, then ordering the Mountain to kill Sir Hugh to cover her tracks. And to be fair to Ned, this is pretty much where the evidence he had led. John had been investigating the parentage of Cersei's children. Varys had confirmed that John had been poisoned using the Tears of Lys, and said it must have been someone close to John, hinting heavily that it might have been Hugh. And Sir Hugh had undeniably mysteriously come into some money. Littlefinger pushes Ned towards this conclusion, and we learn later that even Pycelle thought that this is what happened. And Ned confronts Cersei about it all, being the honourable if rather naive man that he is. But interestingly, during that confrontation, he never actually accuses her to her face of killing John Arryn, instead leaving it implied, so we'd never actually see her reaction to that. The closest he gets is to say that, "I know the truth John Arryn died for," to which she responds by rather warily accusing him of speaking in riddles. And then the conversation turns swiftly to the bigger issue of Cersei's children and what Ned is going to do with the knowledge that they are Jaime's, not Robert's. Through it all, Ned assumes she ordered Jon's death to cover her tracks, but she never actually admits anything like that, despite being very open about everything else. And the pattern of the wider story then follows the pattern of that conversation. Anyone who thinks about it just assumes that's what happened, and it gets rather overtaken the events. But then Tyrion starts to investigate. First, he gets accused of doing it himself by Lysa Arryn, which he finds a bit odd. Then, when he gets to King's Landing, he asks Cersei to her face, "Who murdered John Arryn?" Cersei yanked her hand back. "How should I know?" The grieving widow in the Eyrie seems to think it was me. Where did she come by that notion, I wonder? I'm sure I don't know. That fool Eddard Stark accused me of the same thing. He hinted that Lord Arryn suspected, or, well, believed... They go on to discuss twincest, but although, again, she doesn't exactly deny murder, she is still rather dismissive of the notion. Then Tyrion raises the matter with Littlefinger, while they happen to be discussing Lysa Arryn, Jon's widow. Littlefinger starts. I understand she hates you. She believes she has good reason. When I was her guest in the Eyrie, she insisted that I'd murdered her husband and was not inclined to listen to denials. He leaned forward. If I gave her Jon Arryn's true killer, she might think more kindly. That made Littlefinger sit up. True killer? I confess you make me curious. Who do you propose? It was Tyrion's turn to smile. Gifts I give my friends freely. Lysa Arryn would need to understand that. So Tyrion hints to Littlefinger that he knows who really killed Jon Arryn, which seems to rattle him slightly. Then Tyrion questions Pycelle, or, well, interrogates him really. Shagga the Mountain Clansman is on hand to provide muscle. Jon Arryn was sending his wife back to the Eyrie and his son to be fostered on Dragonstone. He meant to act. So you poisoned him first? No! Pycelle struggled feebly. Shagga growled and grabbed his head. The clansman's hand was so big he could have crushed the maester's skull like an eggshell if he squeezed. Tyrion tusked at him. I saw the tears of Lys among your potions, and you sent away Lord Arryn's own maester and tended him yourself so you could make certain that he died. Yes, he whimpered. Yes, Coleman was purging, so I sent him away. The Queen needed Lord Arryn dead. She did not say so, could not. Varys was listening, always listening, but when I looked at her, I knew. It was not me who gave him the poison, though. I swear it. The old man wept. Varys will tell you. It was the boy, his squire. Hugh, he was called. He must surely have done it. Ask your sister. Ask her. So Pycelle thought Cersei was behind the poisoning, and so he just let Jon Arryn die rather than treat him. But by this point we are already pretty sure Cersei didn't do it. We get our final confirmation in the last proper chapter of A Storm of Swords. It's from Sansa's point of view, and we see Lysa Arryn talking to Littlefinger, or sobbing at him. Tears, 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 she sobbed hysterically. No need for tears. But that's not what you said in King's Landing. You told me to put the tears in Jon's wine, and I did, for Robert, and for us. And I wrote to Catelyn and told her the Lannisters had killed my lord husband, just as you said. So Lysa definitely killed her husband because Littlefinger told her to. We should take a moment to acknowledge that although this was an horrendous act, she was clearly not of sound mind at the time and under Littlefinger's influence. But now we can piece it all together. When confessing, Lysa says she did it for Robert as well as for Littlefinger. That's her son Robin Arryn, Sweet Robin, not Robert Baratheon. What is he to do with all this? Well, Jon Arryn was planning to send Sweet Robin off to be fostered by Stannis Baratheon. Robert Baratheon also